Hey everyone, it's Will, Gamer Dad, with another video for you. So in today's video, I've finally gotten a chance to beat up the hard version of the, distorted Alma. Now, if you haven't already, make sure you like and subscribe to my channel. I really appreciate it. I also do have a Patreon account for those who want to support me today. And I realize she's not called Distorted, she's called the Warped Alma, but you know, so forth. Now that being said, the first turn AF I did using Flash Strike stance is a little bit unique for Hardy. And the reason why is that we used Hardy's Flash Strike to generate 10% AF charge per hit, just like with Melissa. However, did you notice I did break the zone early on once I got a couple of charges of the Katana Swings, which is to power up 10 stacks of hit. And the reason for that is I want the multi-hits to charge Spark. Remember that in zone, in Flash Strike, it's 10% charge per one move. Against an enemy that has weakness such as Warped Alma, every hit is a 3.5% charge, I believe. So if you are actually hit multi-hits, you're actually generating more than the AF charge you would have within a zone. And so we broke it, hit multiple times. Remember that Desperado at 6 bullets can actually hit 6 times? And so we are getting a long charge. Just if you're wondering how I did the stacking for the AF, just slow it down and watch it. I did kind of alternate between casting Zed Steel the first time and then casting Zed Steel again the second time to boost everyone by 50. The enemy has extremely high defenses, and without all that stacked up, I found that it was very difficult to penetrate its defenses. I would say the first HP stopper is around 200 million or so, give or take. Now, after the first HP stopper, you are going to get attacked by multiple things. And the one thing I will say about this Warped Alma that was extremely annoying, in my fight, anytime that you're taking more than a couple of turns, so if you're low turn clearing, you probably don't see a lot of this. At the high turn clears like this, you are not only trying to survive every turn, that means healing every turn, shielding and debuffing, because the boss removes all buffs and debuffs at each HP stopper. You also have to maintain at least 5 hits against the enemy that actually go through. And the reason for that is otherwise its attacks become insurmountable. So again, just to review, you have to hit 5 times each round, heal and debuff if the debuffs fade, and which it does guaranteed fade at HP stoppers. Not only that, but whatever elements used at the first wave, as in the first turn AF cannot be used in the second phase here. So what we did is instead of using all fire attacks and earth attacks, being that Nakoko was earth, we are now switching to Crystal Zone using Alma. Obviously, we do have a crystal move with RCF. Alma is naturally crystal. Now, fire type attacks such as Kid's Zed Steel doesn't do any damage. It actually heals the boss. However, it still applies the 50 triple debuff, which is necessary to control the fight and help you survive. And of course, Nakoko and RCF both do switch to Crystal, being that is Crystal Zone. It is considered an elemental zone. So for 3 turns, all I did is the same move, hit multiple times with Execution, hit with Nakoko's Cat Hook, which is now in the Crystal Zone, to heal and Zed Steel over and over again. After which, we're going to do a large AF. We have already activated Lunatic Plus with Alma. It takes 1 turn to kick in. And then we now use Cannon de Fer to lock in an Awakened Zone for Crystal. Remember that Crystal does exploit weaknesses, doing a tremendous amount of damage. Against weakness, Crystal can actually do, I believe, 220% over double damage. And remember, normal elemental weakness becomes 100% damage in actually I think it's I don't know exactly, I can't remember the exact amount, but it definitely is a lot more than 50% because you awakened the zone. There's actually an exact formula calculation on the AE Wiki. Definitely check that out. I'm sorry if I forgot all the exact numbers. Now that being said, you're probably wondering what I'm going to do in the third wave. Now in the third phase, it goes back to absorbing everything that you did in the second wave. And so as long as we didn't use the, we can start using elements from the first wave again. So obviously we use fire and earth. And so we can go back to fire and earth. Now the problem is that we have an awakened Crystal Zone and RCF Nakoko both do crystal moves. So I do have the Fire Rush Grass Dust setup on RCF. No, Coco unfortunately is just healing at this point, but it doesn't really matter. We still need a healer anyways. Now Zed, Steel, and Kid does do damage, and of course AS Hardy also does damage, being that again is weak to the elements that we didn't use in Wave 2, which is everything that we used in Wave 1. I know it's a little bit confusing, but hopefully you are following along with the explanation. And again, note that if you don't hit them enough, as in 5 hits minimum, the damage is going to be insurmountable. Keep in mind that if you do have type shields and other ways to mitigate damage, I mean, there are a multitude of different ways to mitigate damage, either with type shields. Obviously, the 50-50-50 triple debuff is almost necessary at this phase, although of course let me know in the comments below if you use other ways to resist the damage. I would say a good type shield plus at least a minimum 35-35 dual debuff might be enough. Note that there is some RNG in this fight as well, unless you have guaranteed status shielding. At the in the 5-turn rotation, note that one of the hits here does hit these are a lot of fixed damage as well, 1500 times 2, and then a chance of applying stun and poison, and pain and poison. And so unfortunately Kid took one for the team because it hit the 1500 and that applied pain. Even with Moon Realm gear, it wasn't able to do anything. However, what I do here is really interesting. We used Eclipse Cannon right off the bat in the first turn of the AF to break the zone, such that the earth attacks from Nokoko are now going to be able to hit the boss and charge the bar. Remember what we said in the first turn AF, where we are charging the bar with multi-hits, and it actually charges way more than if we were in zone. If we had stayed in Crystal Zone, each hit will still do 7.5% AF charge. However, look at how much bar we're gaining, even with only 3 units. With Kid dying, it makes it a little bit harder. However, we were able to wear down the boss even with that. One of the keys to this fight is that we also applied Red Needle, and with Kid having 10 stacks from the very first bit of the fight, that does apply a significant fire resist debuff on the enemy, boosts your fire attack of your team, which at least helps with the main DPS, which is AS Hardy. And we were able to barely squeak by. Unfortunately, like I said, Kid did die, but if the Moon Realm had worked, we would have been fine. Keep in mind that we have to go to the same RNG in the second wave of the fight before we AF with Alma on the team. The reason for that is that, again, the same 5-move rotation is there. Now, one other thing to note is if you decide to extend the fight even longer, I believe the 4th turn hits quite a bit, and on the 5th turn, it actually reverts back to the first wave of weaknesses. So you can use any team that basically allows you to have 2 different elements, and you have to use basically 1 set of elements for the first and third waves of the fight, and then 1 separate set of elements for the second wave. And so there are a number of ways to do that, but I wanted to demonstrate this strategy using RCF and Nokoko, being that they can adapt to a multitude of different zones. It's not the most efficient, and I will say I was kind of butting my head against the wall for this, but that being said, finally got it done. Thank goodness.
That took you long enough. Now you can spend time with me.
Finally. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.